There are 3 things that I regularly order from England. 1 is their candy, because I can't get enough of it. 2 are the classic Doctor Who Blu-ray collection sets, which come out a few times every year. And I also keep up with Stan Solo action figure offerings and order them from the UK as they show up in batches. And there was a new R2 unit that he had created, R2G4. R2G4. I'm not really into the R2 number designations of them. I just like seeing the different colored R2s that we saw in the film as Kenner action figures. So I keep up with those, very enthusiastic about them, and I order them as they become available. This particular R2 unit is supposed to be in the original Star Wars film. You can see him in some rare behind-the-scenes photographs, but apparently he never made it onto the actual screen. He never made it onto the footage that was seen in the movie. But he was there on the set somewhere, just didn't make it into the footage that they used in the edit. But that's really not what this video is about. You'll see here that I have a Man-O-Man that Stan Solo has brought out as well. I ordered this because I just wanted to see how close he was getting. Stan Solo has really cracked the code on Kenner, and it is so comforting to see Kenner action figures back in circulation. And that's really what this video is about, Kenner figures back in circulation. And as you know, Hasbro has made a few attempts with their retro collection in the last few years to bring the Kenner collection back into the marketplace. And they've also offered us some figures that were almost available or figures that we always wanted and never got, such as Grand Moff Tarkin or the Snowspeeder variant of Luke Skywalker, although they were packaged with board games, which is still annoying. And they've now completely reimagined the entire cast of Mandalorian as retro-style Kenner action figures. But what was in this order that prompted me to sit down and talk about this a little bit was Stan Solo's Yavin Ceremony R2-D2 figure. Now, a few videos ago, you might have seen the Stan Solo review where I talked about his Yavin C-3PO, which he's done 2 versions of, one with a silver painted leg and one with a chromed lower leg. This is the chromed lower leg version right here. The ultimate distillation, the ultimate expression of Stan Solo's concept for the Yavin C-3PO. Perfected. And now we have his Yavin R2-D2. In basic terms, Stan Solo's Yavin R2-D2 is the pop-up lightsaber R2-D2, just without the hole in the dome for the lightsaber itself. But you can immediately see that it is not the vintage configuration for the original R2-D2, because it uses the pop-up dome head, which is most notable by the large area of chrome to the left of R2-D2's eye when you're facing him, as compared to the vintage original R2-D2 that had the big blue panel there. So it's immediately different from both the pop-up lightsaber R2-D2 and the original vintage solid dome R2-D2. So the anti-repro people need not worry. But that's also not why I'm making this video. It's because when I saw these 2 action figures together, the Yavin C-3PO and the Yavin R2-D2, from a maker, from a fan toy maker, I asked myself, where are R2-D2 and C-3PO in the official Hasbro retro collection? They've had 2 attempts now to get these figures out. 2 waves, Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. Where are they? They've delayed Return of the Jedi so they can do this Mandalorian retro collection wave, which I don't recall anybody actually wanting. I assume because they saw Pro Customs working on stuff, they thought there's a market for all the characters from The Mandalorian in retro style. I don't really know how viable that idea is. And now here we are, 2 movies into the retro collection, and 2 of the figures that were part of the original 12 figures that Kenner ever made. Some of the most prolifically sold figures in the entire Kenner run, the main heroes, C-3PO and R2-D2, are still absent without official leave from the retro collection. Now, the chatter online I've heard is that people say Hasbro doesn't want to get into trying to figure out how to vac metalize these like they were in the 70s and 80s due to modern environmental concerns. Now, my understanding is this is not vac metallization anymore. This is actually an electroplating process. And if those 2 things are similar processes, then I apologize for my lack of scientific knowledge. But if a fan maker is able to do this and work with fabricators to get this done, where's Hasbro? Where is Hasbro, and why are C-3PO and R2-D2 not a priority for the retro collection? When you think about all the major characters that are in Return of the Jedi that are possibly going to be part of that run, you're going to have a Han, a Luke, and a Leia. You're going to have a board game figure, which my bet for the board game figure is going to be Jedi Duel Luke Skywalker, Death Star Luke Skywalker, mainly because they already have the tooling from the Endor Luke and just do a head swap and some new paint apps to make that possible. Grand Moff Tarkin was pretty much the Imperial commander, and the Snowspeeder Luke was pretty much the X-Wing Luke Skywalker. So my bet is that it's going to be Jedi Duel Luke Skywalker and not a slave Leia or anything like that, because we know that Disney wants to distance itself from the slave Leia image, figure, whatever you want to call it. And since we know that Han, Luke, and Leia are going to be part of the retro collection for Return of the Jedi in some form, and I'm pretty sure they're going to avoid doing a Han in Carbonite as that version to appease the anti-repro high-end Star Wars collectors by not repeating a last 17 action figure. I'm pretty sure we're not going to be getting a pop-up lightsaber R2-D2 recreated for the retro collection Jedi line. So that's out as well. So are they going to give us a standard R2-D2 and a standard C-3PO? I don't think so, because you've got to get an Ewok in there. You've probably got to get one of Jabba's denizens in there, and you've got to get the Emperor in there. Biker Scout is also a big possibility for the retro collection because he's the stormtrooper of that line. Not that we got a snowtrooper in the Empire Strikes Back collection, but just throwing out possibilities here. I'm not sure what the mandate is at Hasbro right now regarding R2-D2 and C-3PO. But your retro collection not having R2-D2 and C-3PO means your retro collection is soulless at this point. They're two of the most iconic action figures from the vintage Star Wars line. They're part of the original 12. They're the first two droids. They're the hero droids. And they were made and revised in updated versions throughout 1978 to 1985. R2-D2 was in the last 17 with a brand new version. So I'm stumped at Hasbro's illogic in this. And, I've said the fans are doing the best work. It was funny the other day, I caught on the internet, on social media, that somebody has actually comped up a Star Wars style logo that says the fans are doing the best work, which that was humbling. I was actually, pretty chuffed, as the British would say, to see that. But yeah, the fans are literally doing the work that Hasbro should have done 2 years ago. These are beautiful, beautiful Kenner recreations of R2-D2 and C-3PO. Markedly different enough that anti-repro people can't get their pants in a wad. Reconfigured, recolored, but with the same processes that give them the same luster and the same magic. These are not utilizing matte silver dome paint or matte gold spray paint for C-3PO, as Hasbro has defaulted to with a lot of their modern C-3POs and R2-D2s. The fans are showing Hasbro how to do this. And they're showing them up at the same time, because these are out. These are available right now. Gorgeous, pristine Yavin R2-D2 and C-3PO. For anybody who's collected the retro collection, who can't afford the original vintage stuff, or who just likes going out and getting the Hasbro retro collection, know this. R2 and 3PO, you're probably frustrated that they aren't out there in an official retro collection form. Well, they are. They're available from Stan Solo as Yavin R2-D2 and C-3PO. And they would fit right in with the retro collection figures. In fact, I'll show you that they do. It blows my mind, the decisions that Hasbro makes. It still does to this day. Blows my mind. And it doesn't seem like they're getting any more logical with the way they do things. 3 different sets of Mandalorian cast members at 3 different scales. A Razor Crest that could have sold at retail, that was backed by 28,000 Kickstarter HasLab backers or whatever it was. And all they said they needed were 6,000. So you don't think that would have sold at retail? You can bet your bottom dollar it would have sold at retail with those numbers. And that thing doesn't even exist anymore. Boom! I know I talk about this a lot, but when toy companies are actively ignoring the things they should be making in favor of all this other stuff, I said the other day on my personal Facebook page, I said that modern toy collecting has really been boiled down to how many versions of Darth Vader, Optimus Prime, and Ninja Turtle 4-packs you can buy before you give up the ghost, before you die, before your wallet expires. Because that's all it is at this point. Darth Vader's, Optimus Prime's, Ninja Turtles. These are things that are just on perennial repeat. And the things we do want and ask for, they get trickled out. You know, they get trickled out, and then they're exclusives, and then they're hard to acquire. And I'm about to do a video on Pride of the X-Men. The reason that I'm finally doing a video about the animated show Pride of the X-Men is because they finally released the original version of Storm in their Marvel Legends line. But it took them almost 5 years from the time they did the very first Marvel Legends figure that could be part of that cast to get to this figure. And of course, they put her in an exclusive 2-pack at Target, and it was all kinds of headaches to make that happen. I'm just not sure where Hasbro especially, a lot of these toy companies, but where Hasbro's head is on a lot of these decisions. But 3PO and R2-D2, that doesn't make any sense at all. Continuing to ignore them. Continuing to just say, oh, nope, we're not putting them in this assortment either in the retro collection. Just look over here. Don't ask. Don't ask. It's weird. And I don't know if that's a mandate from Disney, because if Disney was in charge, we wouldn't be getting Luke Skywalker action figures at this point, I'm sure. Fans are doing the best work, bar none. These figures are superior in every way to everything that's been offered by the retro collection. They are 100% Kenner DNA. You will not be displeased if you were to pick these up. I'm pleased as punch. I have them front and center in my Star Wars displays in the main room. Right there next to my, very best condition original Luke, Han, and Leia. So if you're a retro collection collector and you need R2-D2 and C-3PO, you cannot go wrong with these. These are the ones I would recommend, because you wouldn't be fighting high vintage prices for them, and you'd be getting them in pristine condition, and they'd be unique in the same way that the retro collection is itself unique. They're not exactly like the original vintage figures. They have a few differences. They have a different kind of look and luster to them. And in that respect, these two would be a perfect choice to go with that. So I'm going to get back to doing Pride of the X-Men, try and get that out for next week. But hope you guys are doing well, and I'll see you on the next video. Hope you enjoyed that, everyone. If you want to see more videos about Star Wars, you can watch our Bespin Luke feature here. Or if you just want to see fans doing the best work, you can watch our Fan-Made Toys playlist here. And now I'm going to go put all of these droids back in the display case.